All right, my fellow agents, welcome back. It is I, X7, your host of Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. Also, the co host of GD Explanations. Should be a new one coming out tonight. Look for that one. I believe it's coincidentally enough about Lois Lane. And since that was happening, I thought let's do on Superman's first movie, live action movie. He was in two serials portrayed by Kirk Allen, but this time he is George Reeves. And this movie is Superman and the Mole Man, which is quite good. I mean, it was I guess, a front door pilot to getting it ready for the actual television series, which I think started the the next year, 1952. Let's see, 53 looks like. Well, wait, no, 51. It did start right after that because this was a big success. It was syndicated. Didn't know that. I wasn't. I first saw George Reeves as Superman, though I knew about him. But once the 1978 Superman movie came out, or was about to come out, because everyone was trying to get a piece of that Superman action. So, before we get too much further into it, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you think about George Reeves. And this is Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane, who's pretty acceptable actually, considering how we talk about her at GD Explanations. So get ready for that one. This is quite a good little. It's a good little feature. The effects are pretty interesting, and we'll talk about those. But yeah, let me know what you think about it, and if you can, just watch the whole thing. I'm not even going to ask you to watch more longer than you usually do. Just watch the whole thing because it's fun. All right, up, and away. Let's go. Okay, so this copy of the movie Superman and the Mole Man was I have on my first. I have the first season on DVD. That was, they had them. You could buy them everywhere now. Back then, I got it about 2013, 2014, right around then. They were on sale for $10. And I kind of wish I'd have bought the rest of them, but I did not. But it's on there as a bonus feature, and this is I just wanted to show you some of the menus. I know it's also been released on on Blu-ray in standard definition, of course, 4-disc, a special edition of Superman the movie, and then on a Blu-ray. So I'm hoping, rumor has it that the entire series is going to be released on Blu-ray, which would be kind of fun to see. It might, be nice if it looks pretty good. I don't know if they could improve the picture quality too much, as we'll see. But we just start right out with the logo. It is in black and white. So, of course, Superman's not really wearing a red and blue outfit. He's wearing gray and grayer, more than likely, which I think it looks really nice. This and the first season, I believe, were in black and white. At least I know the first season was. And I quite enjoy it. Superman's a little different. And I'd forgotten how young George Reeves was. Everyone likes to call him Uncle Superman now, but he's still quite young. Probably in his 40s, and that seems young when you get to be of a certain vintage. Yeah, he was. Let's see, he's born in 1914, so 54, he'd be 40. So he was in his late 30s, at least when this was shot. But original screenplay based on the Action Comics copyrighted feature, so they hadn't started crediting Siegel and Schuster as they do now, because, well, we won't even get into that. But at least, and then directed by Lee Sholem. So this movie runs a whopping 58 minutes, but it was a big success. It was released November 6th, 1951. So the television show it seemed like it would have started in 52, but what do I know? Generally, since it was in syndication, September 9th, 1952 and running till 1958. First two seasons black and white. Seasons 3 through 6 were in color. So I do like the black and white. I like the look of it. But be that as it may, we'll get into those later. So it opens up with the strange visitor from another planet. He's disguised as Clark Kent, so they're still leaning into this whole thing that Clark Kent is the costume and Superman's the real person, when really he was brought up as a human being, even though he is, the planet's most illegal immigrant until John Jones showed up, the Manhunter from Mars. They do use the truth, justice, and the American way in this, which I think is, I don't know if they use that in the serials or not. They did not use it in the cartoons, at least all of them. I'll have to watch them again. Superman's 90th anniversary is coming up in 3 years, which is why I'm trying to get a couple of these things out of the way before that happens, because we will be talking about Superman a lot in 2028, assuming I'm still doing the podcast by then. Can't think I wouldn't be, but you never know. And we start out in Silsby, home of the world's deepest oil well, population 1430, so smaller than Mayberry, and even Kaiser, West Virginia. Now, this is all shot around outside of LA, which back then was nothing. There's your National Oil Company, Havenhurst Experimental number 1. Our foreman there, they just throw the equipment around, just drop it, and the owner, somebody, brings out Clark and Lois. Now they just assume that everyone knows who these people are, and they do, because Superman was huge. I mean, he and Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Green Arrow were the big three. The big three of DC that survived in their own titles through the dark times of the 50s. So and I can see why they wanted to put them on television. And George is perfect as Superman and Clark. He does a really good job. His Clark's in this is a little more forceful than what we're used to, and Lois is just a Spitfire, so she's a little more acceptable. Although she's still just as dense. Like, she couldn't believe him, but he's so young. And let's see, where's the rest of the cast here? That is, I think that's not Luke Benson, but. I don't know who that is. That's the guy who owns it. The foreman there is Walter Reed as Bill Corrigan, mine foreman. And that's Pop Shannon. Wait, Pop Shannon was the old guy he was talking to right there. Poor Pop. He was played by J. Farrell McDonald. So they go through, let's talk about it. And they think something's going on because John Craig there is just like, I don't know anything. So they decide to go out at night and see what's going on, see if there's anything they can find out. And Pop hears noises, though, and look what comes out, a ball man. Now, when this was shown on television as part of the package, the first syndicated package, they just, edited it into 2 episodes. They omitted calling them anything about mole men. I'll have to watch that at some point and see how that goes. We could do a Superman for the live action Thursdays. It'd be great. So they go around. These mole men were played by John T. Bambury, Billy Curtis, Jerry Marin, and Johnny Roventini, and I believe they were all in The Wizard of Oz. At least 3 of them were. So they're looking around. I mean, they've got clothes on, but their hands are furry. They see Pops. Yeah, now this is day for night shooting. It's supposed to be the middle of the night, but Clark and Lois find Pops. He's dead. Probably died of a heart attack. The oranges are everywhere. Clark goes out to see what he can find, and then Lois turns around and sees them peeping at her. She screams. Most Loises don't scream, but in 1951, Loises screamed. They go over. Everybody's out there. The sheriff and the foreman, and now Clark says, "Okay, what's going on?" So everything they pull up there is glowing, so they think it might be radioactive. And that means, the oranges are glowing. See, oranges are glowing. So they're having it tested. And the mole people are just these mole. They're not mole people. They're not mole men, or mole people, as we see later on. But they're just up. Apparently, they've never been on the surface before. Now, the pressure up there should have made them a lot stronger, because if they were walking around like normal, 6 miles below the surface of the Earth, they'd be a lot stronger. They didn't lean into that. I believe that's a king snake, not a coral snake, but they run away. They run into this little girl who, Beverly Washburn. She was in Spider Baby and Old Yeller, that sick doggy snuff film, Old Yeller. Here comes the groom. Jeez. Yeah, he was in a lot. Hans Christian Andersen, uncredited though. The Lone Ranger. Oh, that must have been the one I reviewed. I'll have to do the sequel. I didn't care for Spider Baby at all 10 years later. She's on a lot of television. Dragnet and Mother's Knows Best, etc. Leave It to Beaver. Star Trek as Lieutenant Arlene Galway. Oh, The Deadly Years. How about that? Things you find out right before Spider Baby. So, but she plays with them because, she's an innocent kid. And the townspeople's up in arms, and this bonehead here, that is John Craig. Is it John Craig? No, that's Luke Benson, Jeff Corey. He was featured. He was in the feature films Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So, but she's just playing with him. The ball glows, so it could be radioactive. Then her mom sees it, screams, and townspeople go running off. And Lois is still against him too, thinking that they're out to get her because they killed Pops. Here's our first appearance of Superman, who just jumps into the air. We don't see him actually flying as we would later on in the television series. He bends up some rifle there that old Luke wants to use against him, and he punches him. So Superman's relatively new here, making his appearance. I don't think that George has any padding on him there, so he just stands there. They do a good job with his invulnerability, with his guns. In fact, let's see. So they've got the dogs after him. Somebody let the dogs out. It was Luke's hired hand there, whose name maybe that's Chuck. And they just look up to show him flying. Now, they do show some POVs of him flying, and I guess people aren't used to seeing men fly over their heads. But the mole men are at the dam, and so Superman's going over to see what he can do. They get down because they know. Now, you'd think they would be very susceptible to bright lights because they're under the ground. Once again, he gets shot at. He socks old Luke. Once again, Luke gets socked a lot. I mean, he had to pull his punch or he'd kill him, as we'll find out tomorrow why he'd have to do that. This guy shoots one of them. Oh, you got me. And the other one's like, oh, you got him. So here's our only shot of Superman flying. It's very cartoony looking, but it's so fast you wouldn't even know it unless you were ready for it. So I don't know. My guess would be probably Walter Lantz Studios did it, but it's like a 3-second shot. So just zoomed down, grabbed him, flew off. And he lands, takes him to the hospital. It's the little guy. Now this chase goes on way too long. I get it. It's they needed to pad it a bit because if they cut out the 8 minutes, it would only be, and they did cut out most of this for the television release. And he's like, having a heart attack. These hunters are after me. They corner him here. I just put this in because of the hounds, because they're cute. They set him on fire to try to roast him, but he's smart. He crawls out underneath and gets away. They think he's dead. He's going back underground. This can't be good for the humans. Luke's causing himself more trouble by pulling a gun on the sheriff, and later on he punches the sheriff. I just like a little town hospital. Just says hospital. So the nurse won't help the doctor operate on the mole man, but Clark says he'll assist. They're going to stand, just in case he's radioactive, they have a lead shield to stand behind, which, is de rigueur for, all hospitals, right? And I'm going to put the trailer in here right now.
Many years ago, when the planet Krypton, home of a race of supermen, exploded in space, the sole survivor was an infant boy who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. Today, that boy, grown to manhood, is known as Superman.
How does it look?
Just like any other oil well.
Above ground, sure, but take my word for it, it's the deepest ever drilled.
That's more than 6 miles down.
Good heavens, practically to the center of the earth.
Just what was in that report? I mean the one that you sent to the Home Office.
You're the newspaper man.
That's right, I'm Clark Kent from the Metropolis Daily Planet.
Oh, they had the bodies of moles and great big human heads. They were just horrible. Those creatures killed that poor old man, and they wanted to kill me.
It's men like you that make it difficult for people to understand one another.
You're not going to shoot those little creatures.
Save your time and ammunition, Benson.
Here, we aim to get it and string it up.
Who's going to stop me? You got Superman.
If he can't stop them, nobody can.
Now I'm going to give you one last chance to stop acting like Nazi stormtroopers.
You give the impression you're leading a double life.
Really?
So that'll give you a flavor of the actual show. Normally I put it on at the end, but I've got to sneak something in else to let you know it's going to be on tomorrow. That does indeed tie in with Superman. Dun dun dun. But we're getting there. Hotel Silsby. So there are some clever things in here. There's some gentle humor. Clark, puts up with Lois and her nonsense. He knows that Superman's here, and he says that if I don't, who will? But the operation says success. They think the patient will survive, and he has the exact same internal structure as humans. So there's some kind of human offshoot that lives 6 miles or more below. They keep saying that they've reached the center of the earth, and anyone who's ever read Journey to the Center of the Earth, where they only get 11 miles deep, knows that it ain't happening. But yeah, Lois is just yelling at Clark, and I think he just tolerates her because they don't really have like the love thing going on in this series. It's more of a comrade sort of friendship. But he tells him that he hears two guys or sees him run down the street, and she's like, "Where? I don't see him," because he's using his X-ray vision. So they do some really clever things to get around having to do more special effects because they didn't know if this would be successful. It doesn't give me on here what the actual cost of the movie was. It was distributed by Lippert Pictures, which is pretty interesting. They did the Lost Continent of 1951, which I'll probably review because it's got dinosaurs in it and stop motion and the Joker, and among other things. And I like it, even though it's got too much climbing. Be that as it may, they've decided now that these little people need to be saved from the mob here. And Lois is like, I'll get out of my way if I want to. They grab her, and Superman shows up because Clark could run back inside, and none of them glom on. Now, if he's just starting out his career, of course, why would you think some regular, mild milquetoast doofus like Clark would be there? Although he's not. He's very proactive in this show. And this guy fired. And Lois, I don't know. It looks like she socks these two guys in the gut, although that guy's bending over like she might have hit him a little lower. And I like to think this Lois, she's feisty. I mean, I think Clark would have liked her because that. Of course, if she's dumb enough not to figure out who he is. We'll talk about that. There's the gun. They bounce off of him, and he's just laughing. He pushes Lois behind him so he just doesn't get shot. Then he takes all their guns. He just takes them and folds them in two. So he's telling them they can't hurt these little people because they haven't done anything. There's no proof that they've done anything. So I haven't seen the new Superman movie, but I know that Superman being nice to everybody, and he's nice to these people. He doesn't hurt them. I mean, old Luke there does need a sock in the jaw, and he gets one more than once. But we find out. So, it's supposed to be midnight. 3 more of the little people, the mole men, show up, and they've got some kind of destructo ray. And there we go. Welcome to Silsby, population 1430. Might be less by the time the mole people are done. somebody tells, oh, this guy sees him, goes off and tells old Luke that they're back. I just like that groceries meet this, this old style of grocery store and wines and beers. That makes you wonder what kind. I mean, everything in the 50s was just a lager, as inoffensive as could be. But they threaten him, and then Superman manages to convince him that he'll go get the injured one because he's like he wants him. So, see, he's blabbing to Luke. Luke goes over by himself. Post no bills. Should have been post no Luke's. See what I did there? And they zap him with this thing. Whatever it is, it's painful. It doesn't kill him, but it makes him drop his gun. But Superman intervenes and saves him. I mean, I would assume that if it's that painful, it probably has probably some kind of disruptor, nerve disruptor or something, which could be deadly. Because, it's bad. It's bad. Saves him, and he takes the little guy back. And old Luke is like, you saved me. And he's like, it's more than you deserve. I mean, Superman can be cold in this, especially in this first season. So, I mean, when I say cold, he's cold. He's like, it's more than you deserved, Nimrod. But he helps him go back, and everybody shows up. Look at this gigantic car. My friend David, who was just here and gave me a really cool dinosaur shirt, said to tell everyone hi, would know exactly what that car was, but I don't. I mean, it's probably a bit, but it would have been a tank. He's like, yep, they got him back there. Everyone's safe. And then they blow up the mine, and I'm sure it melts the shaft and everything, and it blows up real good. So it's a miniature. The miniature works nice. I mean, it's not. They didn't do a lot of it. They did really well in hiding the flying with just the one animated scene. And Lois is like, I wonder if we'll ever see them again. And then that's the end. So short movie. It's very nice, and I'm not surprised. It had just enough action in it. And I've watched like the first couple of discs, and it's been close to 10 years now. I'm hoping that the Warner Brothers curse hasn't set in, but we'll find out. So there we go. Oh, look what's coming up tomorrow. Yeah, the team up of the century. And I was a very young agent, and believe me, I was excited about that. But that's what we'll see tomorrow. Superman versus Spider-Man, and then follow that up with the next 3 episodes of Land of the Lost. So, my fellow agents, I hope you've enjoyed this. Enjoyed the little teaser for tomorrow. And until our next assignment, I'll be phasing out and seeing you.
If I can only get unstuck, I'll be swinging at one of my most fearsome foes next week. How do you fight an enemy who's stronger than you? How do you escape when there's no place to run? Next week, I've only seconds to find the answer before the Scorpion finds it for me with his deadly tail. When I first saw it, it was an ordinary paper bag. But I soon learned that things aren't always what they seem. Especially when they can change into any deadly form, like the sinister Sandman, the most dangerous foe this web slinger ever fought.